What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be installing an adjustable proportioning valve for the rear brakes. So what does a proportioning valve do? It limits how much brake pressure is going to the rear. The reason that they do that is they don't want the rear brakes to lock up first. If the rear brakes lock up first, the car can go into an oversteer condition. So that's what OEMs do not want. They design front suspensions, rear suspensions, everything to avoid oversteer conditions. They want the car to be inherently understeer. It's safer that way and is less liability on them. When you change things in the brake system, you can throw that balance off that they have designed in from the factory. So I do have Cobra brakes on the front, Cobra brakes on the rear. The master cylinder is either a GT or Cobra one. I can't quite remember. So everything should be really well balanced, and I have similar pads front and rear. I have the G-Lock R6 on the front and Carbotech AX on the back, which they are both autocross pads. I originally was running Carbotech AX on front and rear and still had the same issue of the fronts locking up way before the rears are doing anything, which is what you want, but I feel like the rears aren't pulling their weight. They're not doing enough work. So I'm going to put in an adjustable proportioning valve to send more pressure to the rear. We'll still need to adjust this to where the rears are not locking up first, because that's what we do not want. We want the fronts to lock up first, but I want the rears to do more work than I think that they currently are doing. So this car started off as a V6 Mustang. The proportion valve in there I never touched, so I don't know. It was inconclusive if a V6 proportion valve is any different than a GT or a Cobra. So I don't know if maybe the proportion valve is the reason why I'm not getting the brakes to really pull their weight. One thing to note is if your car is ABS, you don't have a proportion valve. All that is handled by the ABS controller. So this car was not ABS, so it has a proportion valve. So that guy is right down here underneath the master cylinder. There's a valve assembly on the front that I'm gonna pull out, and then I have just a plug which will defeat the OEM proportion valve. So you can get that plug from several companies. I got it from Maximum Motorsports. And then this adjustable proportion valve is one from Willwood. So turning it all the way out will give the least amount of brake pressure going to the rear. As you turn it in, you're pushing on like a spring in here, which then increases the pressure that's going to go to the rear. So all the way in will give full pressure to the rear. So we need to, once we get it installed, we'll need to do some tuning to figure out where this actually needs to be set at. I'm thinking we'll just do some quick runs, slam on the brakes, and get it to where the point at the rear is locking up first, and then back it off, maybe a turn, maybe just a half turn, we'll see. All right, so I'm gonna start by pulling out the OEM proportioning valve, which I'll show you where that is. All right, so master cylinder up here. There's this brass block right underneath of it, and on the front of it, see this plug right there. So you take that guy off, pull the guts out of it, then we'll install this proportioning valve plug in there once we remove the guts. So that's the part number for this one. The instructions show it probably a lot better. So there's the block. On the front is this plug, so we'll remove that, remove out the guts from inside of it, and then we'll install the plug afterwards. So I've already drained out the fluid for the rear brakes out of here, so I'm going to go ahead and start pulling that apart. We'll then figure out how we're going to install the valve. All right, so I got the pieces out: the plunger, a spring, and the plug that goes over it. So it looks like the reason that you can't just remove the guts and put this guy back in there is there's just a rubber plug right here. So I'm guessing without this plunger, it would actually, this would see full brake pressure, and then it would just blow this plug out and leak, and you'd have no brakes. So I'm guessing that this plunger probably keeps pressure from actually reaching to here. And it looks like there's another seal. So yeah, this probably seals up on there or something like that. It doesn't allow pressure to actually go to this plug. So that's why we got this plug. That's just a blank, nothing going on it. So we'll install this guy, and that part is all done. So that's why I was saying that I don't know if this is the same, if the V6 is the same as other cars, because you could have a different spring in here, which would then give a different profile of the brake pressure going towards the rear. If you have a softer spring, it will probably allow more pressure to the rear. If you have a harder spring, it will allow less pressure. I'm assuming that's how this thing probably works. So yeah, you could have different springs for different tuning, and maybe even different profiles of this plunger too. Could be a possibility of how the cars could potentially be different. I'm not saying that they are, I'm just saying that that's a possibility. Okay, as for actually installing this valve, so I found this line, which is in still pretty good shape, laying around. So this is a removed one from my Toyota 4Runner, which I'm replacing all the brake lines on it, but this one is still in good shape. So it's pretty much the perfect length and size that I need. This will install into that brass block. It will come up, go to this valve, to the adjustable proportioning valve. I think I'll bolt it in right here onto the strut tower, so it's easy to access. And then I'll make another line that will come down, and then we'll union into the line that was down there. So I got some leftover brake lines still from the 4Runner build. So that will go, I'll make that nice and easy. So a lot of people, you know, go and mount these accessible to the driver inside the car. That's all nice and dandy, but that will take a little bit more brake lines, a little bit more cutting and everything like that. And this is just going to be, I just wanted a quick install. I didn't mention that I had this laying on the shelf. I didn't actually buy it for this car. This was actually for the 4Runner. So I'm kind of borrowing it from the 4Runner build for the Mustang. I already had the plug for the Mustang because I was planning on doing this originally a long time ago, but then never did. The plan now for the car is to do an ABS module on it later on. But for now, we'll put this on and it will be good to go, hopefully, for a while. So yeah, I think I'm going to mount it right on the strut tower, drill some holes, put some bolts in it, and that will be pretty good. Maybe go ahead and put this guy on. All right, I got the proportioning valve bolted to the strut. So I just drilled a hole from the wheel well and put a bolt in there. It's not tight yet, but I think one bolt will be okay. If not, there's the second hole that I can drill one. All right, so now is the time to build the brake line that will go out and then to the brake line going towards the rear. So it looks like if I make a line that's about 7 inches long, that will be able to reach. I got the union down in there. So I'll come in, do a hard 90 into here, and that should be good to go. So Forgot what this brake tubing is made out of. You can find it on Amazon. It's super easy to bend and work with. Alright, so we'll measure off 7 inches. And put the cutter on. Right. There's our new brake line. We got our new fittings. Make sure that those go on first before flaring. So then we got this tool. Basically we'll put that in there until it hits the stop. Bolt these down. And we'll put in side 1 first. Screw it in. Take that out, and then you'll put in side 2 to get a double flare. There we have a beautiful double bubble flare. We'll do the same thing on this other side. Just stop in here. All right. Now I just need to figure out a hard 90 in there. All right, we'll see if that will work. That should be pretty close. So basically I'm trying to bend it down to where it's not hitting this fuse block. All right, the installation is all done. I need to fill and bleed the lines, and then we can test, and hopefully there's no leaks. But I'll show you, I'll try to get up close of what I installed. All right, so here's the valve mounted to the strut tower. So then coming out of this brass block, I have a line that goes up and goes into the end of the proportionate valve, and then coming out of the proportionate valve goes to a union right kind of behind this electrical. This union right here, which then goes into the original brake line going to the back of the car. Then here's the plug in the original proportionate valve. So that's the setup that I have for this car. It should work just fine. So the next step is getting fluid in, checking for leaks, and then testing and figuring out where exactly this guy needs to be set at.